On November 7, 2000, a gang of criminals tried to pull off the boldest heist in the world. Their target? The Blue Diamond, the Millennium Star, a gem worth more than you can imagine. These guys were totally crazy. They spent months planning their move. They went all in, smart and daring, but the ending was totally unexpected. Things flipped around and they were stunned by what happened. If you want to hear about all the wild stuff that went down, stick around for the story and enjoy the video. Hey, and welcome to your hometown. Before the gang's diamond heist, they carried out 2 armored truck heists, and we'll talk about them first. One day, the police got a report about a terrifying incident in the Parsi neighborhood in London. The officials rushed to the scene to figure out what happened, but the place was wrecked. At first, they thought it was a terrorist attack, but it turned out to be a failed armed robbery. What happened was a gang tried to steal an armored bank truck, but their method was crazy. Imagine they had attached this huge nail-like spike to the back of their truck to break open the armored truck's door and steal the money inside. It's literally worth 10 million pounds. The truck is basically a machine that can crush anything you can think of. But the crazy part is how they stopped the gang. Imagine, right where the gang had parked, there was a man who locked the gang in on the road. The gang got annoyed, so he got out, took the key to his truck, and ran away. The gang tried to get the truck to break open the armored door, but when they got in, the key wasn't there. Talk about bad luck for them. What guts that man had. The gang had to flee the scene, but before they ran, they blew up the truck. After that, they kept running until they reached the river. The cops were close on them and they had a boat ready, so they jumped on it and took off fast. Even though their robbery was violent and aggressive, it was stopped with a really simple move. The investigators tried to find any lead in the case but came up empty because the gang didn't leave any trace behind after the failed heist. The gang stayed quiet after that, but it was the calm before the storm. The police were waiting for them to make their next move, and they didn't have to wait long. One day, the gang hit an armored bank truck using the same method as before. Earlier, they brought their trucks with those huge iron spikes attached and hit the armored vehicle from behind. Suddenly, a police car that was nearby showed up, and when it got close, they started shooting at it. The police car backed off and fled the scene. They jumped into the truck loaded with money and ran towards a nearby fire. They took the money, put it in their boat, and escaped. But before they left, one of the gang members wrote Jerry 2, the name of a cartoon movie, on the big iron spike on the truck, and underneath it wrote, "We are holding on." The whole operation only took a few minutes. Of course, the police were pretty sure it was the same gang that tried to steal the armored bank truck last time because everything was similar, the truck they used and how they carried out the heist. But there's always a slim chance that the police could find a lead in the case, maybe uncover the gang through some small detail they overlooked. The next day, the head of the criminal investigation department was going through newspapers covering the robbery case. While carefully checking one of the pages, he noticed the truck the gang used in this robbery and connected it to a suspicious location. They were storing stuff in stolen vans on a farm called Tonk Farm. The farm was in a remote area of Kent County, London. After some digging and investigation, it turned out the truck had been heading to the farm about a month before the robbery. Inside the farm lived a family called the Winhams. One of the gang members was a guy named Lee Winham, 33 years old, who dealt in scrap metal and was known to the police because of his bad reputation. Once the investigators got all this info, they started keeping a close watch on the farm from a distance, and the surveillance team worked hard, following everything for weeks, the round trip to the farm, and finally after a few weeks, they saw a truck heading to Wareham was returning to the farm. It had a yellow excavator with it and the driver was meeting with 2 other guys. After checking, they identified who they were. The first was named Raymond Bateson and the second was Will Crocker. Both were professional criminals with a shady past. The police were more excited than the criminals since they had been hunting them for a long time. After some tracking, they discovered a new member among the thieves named Terrence Millman. One of the investigators confirmed that this guy had a huge criminal record. So far, there are 4 suspects, starting with the mastermind, where are Terrence Millman, Raymond Bateson, and Will Crocker. These 2 are professional criminals and experts in this field. The Snake Police needed more evidence to confirm their guilt in the crime that happened and what's going to happen. So, on August 25, 2000, the proof showed up during surveillance at the farm. The cops brought the thieves a boat and took it to the farm, and the police were sure the thieves were about to start a new mission. But what was the plan and where was the place? That was never known, not even for a day. While the investigator was watching the mastermind, they found out he bought a family ticket for a trip to the Thousand Dome. This place is a huge exhibition or complex, and inside it, there's a blue diamond called the Millennium Star, one of the rarest diamonds in the world. The dome where it's kept is surrounded by a river. When the investigators thought about it, they felt like someone might try to steal the diamond since the dome is surrounded by water. The gang took a boat and headed to the farm, and since last time they escaped by boat, everything kind of connects. Of course, all this is just piecing together events and guessing what might happen next. So far, there's no proof that the gang is actually planning to steal the diamond, and there's surveillance in place. Where are they today, the ones who bought the ticket? They took a picture of him leaving the farm with a woman and a child heading to the Al-Alfia Tower. People saw him checking out the place from all sides. It looked like he was scouting for weak spots that would let them get into the tower during the operation. While he was entering the tower, the officers watching were dressed like tourists, keeping an eye on things from a distance. But the weird part is, he went back and forth to the Almasa area 3 times, so it's clear he was looking for some sneaky plan. You could tell just from the way he looked. Look at how confident he is, like he's already thinking about the loot. Within 24 hours, the police started drawing up a plan. The court wants to stop the robbery that's probably going to happen, and the air team will play a big role in stopping it because they've been tracking all the gang's moves. But to make sure the cops can actually prove the criminals stole the diamond, they have to let them get inside the gallery where the diamond is and catch them in the act. The diamond is kept in a vault, heavily secured with concrete. After studying the case, the detectives came up with a crazy idea to move the diamond to one of the beer stores. If the thieves find out about this, they'll definitely try to hijack the truck carrying it. They were going to transport the diamond, and of course, the police were ready to catch them. Sure enough, at the set time, the truck carrying the diamond hit the road. The security team had every spot covered and set up a massive ambush with over 300 officers. Some were hidden around the dome, others climbed nearby cranes, and even helicopters were flying overhead. Man, it looked like they were prepping for a full-on war. When the truck was about halfway through, it reached a tunnel, the perfect spot for a heist to go down. But the truck made it through the tunnel, got to the store, and the diamond was unloaded. Nothing really happened. The police were completely baffled. The operation cost them hundreds of thousands, but despite that, the gang never showed up, which means they had no idea about the operation. Sometime after, the investigators sent someone to the control room in the dome to monitor the security cameras there. A few days later, this guy called the investigator and told him that Betson and Cookroom had entered the dome. He said they were closely watching the diamonds, which meant the plan was still ongoing. But what the thieves didn't know was that the real diamonds were already out. The diamonds on display in London are exact replicas of the originals, meaning if they go through with the heist and succeed, all their efforts will be pointless. But the bigger problem is that the dome is packed with a huge crowd, so how are they supposed to pull off the job with so many people around? The police knew they had to come up with a solid plan to control the situation, making sure no one's life was at risk. While watching Betson and Cookram in the parking lot, they spotted a third person with them, which meant they were adding a 5th member to the gang. They identified this guy as Aldo Crosai. He's 29 years old and also an armed thief. While watching the gang, they saw them testing their riverboat, but it wasn't working properly. So, Terrence Millman, nicknamed the Expert, went to a boat shop and bought a boat for £2,000. That's how they got the thieves' getaway boat ready for the robbery. While tracking them, the police also spotted a yellow excavator, which it looked like they planned to use during the heist. They saw the gang preparing equipment and vehicles but didn't know when the operation would start. The investigators were super tense, worried the whole time that they might fail to stop the robbery. This time on the rooftop and stairs, Detective Chad Ford, the lead investigator on the case, said that if we fail to stop the raid this time, it will be the end of his career on November 6th at 2 a.m. The detectives found out from the gang's movements at the farm that their operation was starting today. So, the Hope units headed to the Millennium Dome where the gang was hiding inside trucks. There were over 100 of them. Some pretended to be Dome employees and wore janitor uniforms, hiding their weapons inside garbage bags. Others acted like tour guides. Then they got word that one of the gang members had left. He was riding the excavator heading to the dome, but bad luck hit the police because at that exact time there was a traffic accident right in front of the Alfea Dome. This accident caused a huge traffic jam. The gang got the news and pulled back to the farm. While the police were super angry, they had been planning the operation for months. Could it really all fall apart because of this accident? At that time, they suspected that news about their planned operation had leaked to the media. But luckily, the next day around 9:15, the yellow excavator left the farm, then the boat followed and headed toward the dome area. The gang got off into the river there. On the dome side of the operation, the gang will add 2 more people, and we'll talk about them at the end of the video. As the gang got closer to the dome, the police noticed a group of kids near the diamond area where the gang was heading. Right away, innocent people ended up getting killed. Once the gang arrived, they went straight for the gate with a digger, smashed it open, and headed to the dome entrance, specifically the diamond spot. They threw smoke bombs and 2 people went inside, starting to smash the glass with the big hammers they had. Meanwhile, investigator Chatford gave the order to start the operation and security forces quickly spread out. The gang was caught in the blink of an eye. The footage you're seeing is real, taken by cameras during the shootout, turning the place into a battlefield. But the ambush lasted no more than 2 minutes. On the other side, a police boat headed straight for the gang's boat on the river and arrested the guy they were after. That's how they successfully stopped the robbery, and honestly, it was flawless. Can you believe that no one got hurt on either side during the whole thing? The gang was stunned, didn't put up any fight, and were shocked at how easily they got busted. The people inside the cellar were Raymond Betson and Will Coker, and the ones by the excavator were Aldo, Crosai, and Robert Adams. Robert was the guy who only joined them for this job. Raymond Betson sarcastically told the investigators that the diamond was just 30 centimeters away from him. They arrested the expert Terrence Millman by the seaside. He was disguised in construction worker clothes, waiting for the escape boat, but he didn't know he'd never make it. The 6th guy was with them during the operation, and his job was to drive the boat. His name was Kevin Meredith. After that, all the newspapers talked about the biggest foiled heist of priceless German diamonds. Honestly, if the robbery had worked, it would have been one of the biggest ever. There were thefts happening around the world, and then the gang's trial began. The 2 guys who tried to steal the diamond, Raymond Betson and Will Coker, were sentenced to 18 years in prison. Aldo Crosai and Robert Adams got 15 years each. The boat driver, Kevin Meredith, was sentenced to 5 years. The mastermind, Lee Winham, got 13 years. I think that's a light sentence since he didn't take part in the actual break-in or the diamond theft, and he wasn't even visible during the operation. Also, if you noticed, we didn't mention his name during the heist because poor guy didn't get a chance to do anything. And by the way, Terry S. Millman, the expert, passed away. He's in jail because of cancer, and while waiting for his trial, the police said it was a flawless operation carried out by the gang in an amazing way. Can you believe they broke the glass the police thought was unbreakable in less than a few seconds? Even crazier, the gang didn't use any weapons at all, so their plan was peaceful: break the glass, steal the diamonds, and escape. The funniest part is, people started making fun of it and told the police to give back the money they spent on tickets because they were showing a fake diamond and fooling everyone. And that's the end of our story. See you in the next video. Bye.